Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the free hour. It's your boy Tree Trevor Turner. And hey, it looks a little bit different behind me. That's because we are on the road. We's out of town. We're in Santa Barbara right now. Came to check out the college up here, UCSB, University of California, Santa Barbara. Came here on a college tour, came to check it out, had to get all, get my hair done, get everything all shaved up and everything. And I decided to go ahead and record another video for you guys while I'm out here. The last video we talked about, we started our one of our second ABC series, and that was the series on emotional intelligence. And the A in that one was for awareness. So if you haven't checked that one out already, make sure to go check it out. It's very big. Awareness is the building block of emotional intelligence. It's the very first step to it. Make sure you go check out that video. The good thing is, though, you don't have to have checked out that video to get this video. This video is another one of our ABC series that we're starting on the second leg of our free hour ABC's journeys, and it is going to be our productivity series. And the letter A for our productivity series is very simple. And you just got to ask yourself a simple question. What if the secret to unparalleled productivity lies in knowing exactly why you're doing what you're doing? A for productivity is for aligning with purpose. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the importance of aligning your tasks and your goals with a larger purpose and how this alignment can boost productivity and fulfillment. So when we talk about what purpose means in a personal and professional context, the way that I like to talk about it is you think about the roles that you want to fulfill in your personal and professional context. And I always like to pull him back from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. One of the things that he did and he would have us do when we would do things like managing our time and scheduling our week and budgeting our time is that we would think about the roles that we wanted to fulfill, the roles that we wanted to fill, the roles and things that we wanted to achieve. Not necessarily our goals and accomplishments, but the things and the people that we wanted to become. So when we talk about purpose, we talk about our roles, we talk about being a good husband, being a good father. We talk about the position that we hold at our company and the things that that position is intended to fulfill. Not necessarily just filling out some TPS reports, not necessarily getting a sales quota, but becoming like the #1 salesman in your region. Like that is a purpose that goes behind a goal, a purpose that helps lead up to a goal, and a purpose that helps you stay motivated and stay productive on our goal. So when you have the clear purpose, it gives the directions to your efforts. It makes tasks more meaningful. And this is something I talked about a lot in the old ABC series, is that you put everything that you do through the lens of where it is that you want to end up. You put everything through the lens of who it is that you want to be. Aligning with purpose, align everything that you do with purpose. And what happens is that makes it just so much easier to stay productive. You don't have to force yourself into action. You don't have to force yourself to commit to new habits. You don't have to force yourself to commit to new things. What happens is you get excited about wanting to do those things, and you feel like the only problem is that you don't even have enough time to do those things. And it's one of the things that I was talking about with a friend of mine. We were on the way to a meeting, an NA meeting, and we were talking about me wanting to become a writer. So one of the things that I do is that I align the tasks that I do to stay productive with me wanting to become a writer or an author. Not just saying like I want to have this much done or I want to get a book published or I want to do this. I want to just be a writer. I want to be somebody who writes. I want to be somebody who creates on that medium just like I create on the other mediums. And so what happens is that I don't have to force myself into being productive. I align the tasks that I do with purpose. And that way I don't have to say, okay, I'm writing something that I'm not feeling, or I'm trying to do something in a medium that I'm not feeling. I'm so excited about doing that. It's just like, damn, I wish I could do more every single day. Now, why does purpose matter? Dr. Amy Rezeniewski, I think that's how you say her name, is a professor of organizational behavior at Yale School of Management. She's known for her research on how people find meaning in work and its impact on productivity. Now, the study she done from Yale on job crafting and meaningful work found that employees who see their work as a calling or aligned with their purpose are more engaged and perform better. Not just saying that you have to drop everything to find that place that you can be, but you need to be able to define your role as it is and as it relates to where it is that you want to get to and be in life. And that will help you to get more productivity. Now, if you can even are able to look at a job as a stepping stone to your purpose, your job is a stepping stone to your calling, or even the money that you earn from this unfulfilling job as the tool that you are going to get to your purpose with, it will help you to get more productive. It will help you to remain more productive. And then obviously, if you find the thing that you love to do, if you find what you feel like you've been called to do, if you find what you feel like your purpose is and your talents definitely relate to, obviously productivity is something that's not even it's a foregone conclusion. It's not even a question. Now let's talk about identifying your core purpose. One of the things we've talked about a lot to identify our core purpose is we've talked about things that make us feel excited. In the last video of the first ABC series on the zeal, we talked about the things that make us excited. We excited. We talked about performing to our highest excitement. Now, when you think about it, to identify your core purpose, there are a couple different ways, and a couple different ways I want to go through with you guys real quick. And these are just refreshers because we've talked about all of them. Now, one of the things that you can do is you can think about the things that make you feel most fulfilled. What are the things that you do, even if they're hard, even if they're easy, even if you feel like they're impossible to actually get done, but just doing that task makes you feel like you did something. It makes you feel like you're just performing to your highest level. It makes you lose track of time. It makes you get lost in it. It makes time just go by really quick. There are things that go by really quick. When you're at work and it goes by hella slow, that's not one of them. But when you're with that person you love, that man or that woman that you love, that time seems to go by like that, right? It's the same concept. When you get in that flow state with something, when you get into something that it can be challenging, but at the same time just makes you feel like you want to get after it every single time. Even if you feel like it kicks your ass every single time you do it, but it's just something that you love. What makes you feel like that? And then also, what values do you want to reflect in your work? And the way that you can come to what values you want to reflect in your work, and these are the two things that I like to go back to because they worked for me. You think about either your 100th birthday or you think about your funeral, and you think about the things that you would want people to say about you at your funeral. And the thing about it is this, and the reason I say 100 is because a lot of us, especially people coming from the lifestyle that I lived, we never thought we would make it to be that old. So this is after you have gone through all the bullshit cycles of life, after you've gone through the catch-up cycles of life, after you've gone through the survival mode cycles of life. So now you don't have to worry about dying at 21 and people saying, man, I'm gonna get the homie tatted on me. He was a real nigga. Woo, woo, woo. You don't have to go through the cycle of like a 35-year-old heart attack and you're the only person who shows up is your wife or your husband. And they're saying, you know what, he was at work all the time and I didn't really know him that well. And your kids is like, I don't, my dad, he was my dad. He put a roof over my head and all that. But you think about your 100th birthday, you think about the time after you've had that time, with the current way that things are to get aligned with your purpose and to actually make an impact on the world, how would you want these people to say that you made that impact? What values would you want to reflect? What would you want them to say? What would you want them to say that you changed or put your mark on or affected in their eyes? And for me, one of the things is that I really wanted to have people saying at my funeral, and this just kind of came to me. I wanted people to say that I changed the face or what they thought about when they thought about things like motivation or self-help or thought frequencies, vibrations, manifestation. Because to me, when you pick up one of those books and you go to the about the author section, you're going to see a certain type of person. You're going to see a certain type of face. You're going to hear a certain type of voice. I mean, there are outliers. We got like E.T. the Preacher. We got a couple black faces in there. We got a couple people who are telling it the way that people like me can understand it. But I want to be able to put so many more people who are doing these things and so many more people who are talking about these things in a space and on a platform to where people will say, damn, he really changed the face of it. He brought so many more people into coming into their own and having their own purpose and getting out of survival mode. Because what happens is what we just assume that, okay, this stuff like that is for them. It's not for people who ain't got nothing. It's not for people who fresh out of prison. It's not for people who ain't got no money and got to survive and work 2 jobs and take care of all these kids. It's not for people like us. It's not for people who've been in the streets. It's not for people who dropped out of high school. It's not for people who aren't capable of keeping their mind on things and trying to go to a college. It's not for the people who want to go to school. It's for the people who want to get a trade. It's for the people who want to pursue a career in the trades or in engineering or in stuff like that, right? I want to change all of those things. I want people to say that no, there was a dude, he was tatted up, hands got calluses, he's worked outside, he just got out of prison, he dropped out of high school. And he understood exactly the things that I was going through. And he still told me how to navigate those things on a different, higher level. He still told me how to be present when I got kids running around. He still taught me how to manifest things when I was in such a situation of lack and scarcity. It's not necessarily about the mindset, but about the situation, right? Because a lot of times what happens is that we have these people who are telling us to get out of the scarcity mindset, but the people they mean that for are not in a physically scarce place. They are in a place of physical abundance. They're just irresponsible with the abundance that they've been given. A lot of us are in a place of actual literal scarcity, and we are being irresponsible with the little bit that we got. We're not being grateful for the little bit that we get, so we're not getting more. So I'm trying to change that, and I'm trying to change how people think about it. And that's why I'm able to align myself with my purpose. Because here's one of the things that I was even talking to about one of my friends is that my life is not very different from where it was a few years ago. The situation and the circumstances that I'm in is not very much different than when I decided that I needed to go back to selling drugs, when I decided that I needed that money by any means necessary, by any way, shape, or form, that I needed to take penitentiary chances for it. In a lot of ways, I'm even in a even worse, like if that old mindset, even worse off than I was back then. But because I have this new mindset, but because I have these new thought patterns and these new frequencies and these new vibrations, I'm doing everything different. I'm seeing everything different. I'm feeling everything different. And next, of course, one of the most important things that we can do once we've started to identify our purpose and once we've started to identify the steps that we can take to get to our purpose is, of course, building habits that support our purpose. So first, let's talk about habit formation basics. So when we talk about people like Charles Duhigg, he's a journalist and author known for his book, The Power of Habit. It explores the science behind habit formation and how habits shape our lives. He talks about his research on the habit loop, which is cue, routine, reward, and how it can be applied to build habits that align with your purpose. And then, of course, we have James Clear, who talks about things like that, the habit loop. He talks about things like habit stacking. He talks about things like habit linking. So when we talk about all of these things, when we talk about the times that you feel like pulling out your phone to scroll, you can link a habit to that, or you can stack a habit with that. And you can say, you know what? Before I pull out my phone, I'm going to read the news on investing. I'm going to read stock market news. I'm going to read a newsletter on where I can put my money at the beginning of my investment career. And then once I get with that, once I get done with reading that for 10 to 15 minutes, then I can go onto my Instagram. Once I get to the point where I feel like I want to eat unhealthy, once I get to that cue where I feel like, damn, I'm kind of hungry, you know what, I'm going to reach for this. And you say, you know, and you recognize the cue and you're aware of it and you begin to do something else in its place. And then you reward yourself with something else. You reward yourself with something that will reinforce that positive habit. All right, so we talked about habit stacking, we've talked about habit linking, we've talked about habit formation. So now we're going to give you some practical tips on creating habits that reinforce alignment with your purpose. So one of the things that we should do is set specific cues in our lives that remind us of our purpose to help us start a task, or even incorporating rituals that connect us to our larger goals. So one of the things that we can do, and one of the things that I've even seen people do, is they leave Post-it notes all around their house. They leave them on the mirror in their bathroom. They leave them on the refrigerator. So one of the things that you can do, if your purpose needs you to be creative and your creative juices flow in the morning, so every time you get up and you're in there brushing your teeth, you're going to look up at the mirror and you're going to see create. You're going to see write. You're going to see record. You're going to see shot list. You're going to see things like that. And it's going to start that ritual of providing you the cue to initiate your action. So that way, your mind will automatically later on start just being automatically in that mode in the morning. As soon as your toothbrush hits your teeth, okay, it's time to create after this. As soon as I spit out this toothpaste, it's time to record something. As soon as I spit out this toothpaste, it's time to work on the shot list. As soon as I spit out this toothpaste, it's time to work on this budget. As soon as I do that, it's time to work on this ad. It's time to work on sending some text messages to people. It's time to work on collaboration. It's time to work on all of those things. And then the other thing that happens after lunchtime, and you got to start reaching out to other people, or you got to get on to your other work or your other projects. Have yourself a post-it note or something on the fridge. Things like that, where you set up for yourself those cues and they become ritual. So one of the things that happens is when you set up these cues and you make them ritual, like every time I wake up in the morning, before I would have something to remind me when I wake up in the morning, hit your knees, pray, meditate before anything. And I would have that to where I could see it as soon as I wake up. I would have it pop up on my phone, right? And that would be the cue that would get me to the routine. And then I reward myself with something else later on. And one of the things I would reward myself with is I would reward myself with like extra fruit or something like that because I really love fruit. So one of the things I would do is I would set myself up with the cue to make it into a ritual. So as soon as my eyes open, I'm hitting the gratitudes. As soon as my eyes open, I'm doing my body scan. I'm getting aware of what's going on in my head. I'm not letting all these people through my phone and through social media into my room all in the morning. As soon as I open my eyes, I'm letting God in. I'm letting gratitude in. I'm letting positive mindset for my day in. And I created that ritual through those cues. Now, of course, let's talk about some of the common challenges. Distractions. One of the things that happens is that even it talks about in the 7 habits, a lot of times what is going to happen is that, especially if you have a job, people are going to come to you with their problems. People are going to come to you with the things that they need you to do, whether that's your supervisor, whether that's your coworkers, whatever the case. Now, if you have started to implement some of the things that we've talked about in the previous series, you are starting to put your best foot forward in every situation at work. And of course, that's probably for the most of us, it's probably started to ruin your life already. Start to become important at work, you're going to ruin your life for a little bit. But what happens is this. We're going to introduce some techniques to you to avoid some of these distractions. One of the things that I want to talk to you about, and I want you to check it out, is the quadrant-based time management system for your weekly scheduling that Stephen Covey suggests in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's something we talked about at length in the book review, but I'm going to go over it really quickly. Quadrant 1 are the things that are important and urgent. Those are the things that your supervisor needs you to do. Those are your job duties. Those are the fires that you have to put out that have to do with like your kids or your family. Your things that are important to you and urgent. They need to be done right now, like meeting deadlines. If you're a student, tests, homework, the things that are coming up, the things that are immediate. Then we talk about quadrant 2 things. Quadrant 2 things are the things that are important, but they're not urgent. These are the things that help you get to where you want to go when it comes to purpose. And these are the things I'm going to focus on real quick. These are the things like staying in the gym. If you're a student, these are the things like studying today for a test that's due next month. These are the things like starting to write a paragraph every day on a paper that's due in 2 weeks instead of writing it all today. These are the things that are like building your relationship with your children. These are the things like maintaining and building those bonds, helping them practice for something, helping them practice during an off season for a sport that they might not even signed up for yet. These are the things like building and maintaining relationships. These are the things like building and maintaining your skill sets in certain things. And even when we talked about studying investing, even when we talked about listening, reading those newsletters and listening to those podcasts, it's things like that. Those things are important to you because they're going to get you to where you want to go according to purpose, but they are not urgent. Those are the things that, yes, they can literally be put off until tomorrow. And it's not going to make that much of a difference. Unfortunately, what happens is this: if you do not schedule time for those things, it is very easy to get distracted. So we talk about doing time blocking. Dedicate specific time slots to purpose aligned tasks. Remove or minimize distractions during this period. Put your phone on focus mode. Turn that motherfucker off. Lock your office door. Let people know not to bother you during these times. Set these times out as if you have a meeting, even though it's just you working on things that are going to further and advance yourself. It's like when I set aside time every single day to create these outlines for this video, when I set aside time every day to write something in the book that I'm working on, when I set aside time every day to work out, when I set aside time every day to align with the roles that I want to fulfill, that I want to become. So once you've once you've identified your purpose, every week you say, okay, so these are the 4 things that I want to do, that I want to fulfill, that align with my purpose, that align with where I want to go, that align with who I want to be. And you dedicate time, blocks of time, to those things every single week. And next, of course, one of the things we talk about is staying motivated. Now, we talked a lot about this in the book, in the not the book, in the video on zeal. One of the things that happens is, yes, staying motivated can be an obstacle, but aligning things with purpose in and of itself is something that helps us to avoid this challenge. And we talk about Angela Duckworth. She's a psychologist. She's known for her research on grit and its role in success. Her book, Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance, emphasizes the importance of perseverance in achieving long-term goals. Angela Duckworth, her research shows that perseverance and passion for long-term goals are key to sustained success. But one of the things that happened is we talked about zeal. We talked about performing to your highest excitement. We talked about those things you can keep on going back to every single day, day by day. And now we've talked about habits. We've talked about getting away from distractions. We've talked about making these things routine and just a part of your day. Those are just who you are and what you do. So one of the things that happens is when you start to come across failure, when you start to come across failure, when you start to come across obstacles, when you start to run into that wall, or when life starts to try and hit you in the mouth, or things just seem like you just are never going to get the time to actually do what it is that you need to do, so much things just keep happening. That's when you need to just bite the bullet. That's when you need to just clench your fists and just keep going, keep getting after it. And one of the things that happens is this: motivation. Motivation is is not something you can always rely on. You cannot always rely on the flame of motivation, but what you can rely on is the flame of discipline. Motivation is that big flame that just burns you up and just consumes you with everything, and you just want to do everything that day, everything you can that day. That little flame of motivation is the one that doesn't burn out. It's the one that doesn't it's not a flash in the pan. It keeps you going. Have that discipline. Like we said with the time blocking, it's easier if you make these things a habit to stay motivated and stay doing these things than if you're just trying to do these things whenever you feel that spark or that inspiration to do those things. And one of the ways that we can make sure that we are doing these things, we're going to talk about some practical applications. One of the things we can do at the beginning of this is we can do our daily alignment check-ins. At the end of every day, one of the things you need to do is you need to think about the things that you did throughout the day. And even if you have to track your actions through the day, really track them, write them down what you're doing. So that way you can see how much time you're spending on your phone on Instagram. See how much time you're spending on your phone on TikTok. See how much time you're really spending on YouTube. See how much time you're really spending binge watching shows. And then you can actually think about, okay, which tasks today are directly connected to my purpose. Don't do a judgment. Don't do it in a way that's going to make you feel bad about yourself. But one of the things that's going to happen is you can say, okay, so my purpose is this. These tasks aligned with it, these tasks did not. So what you can do is you can start to say, okay, these tasks aligned with it. So I can either allocate more time towards those, or I can say, okay, these tasks did not. So what I can do is I can start to give myself cues, and I can start to do different habit linking or habit stacking around these things that I'm doing more than I need to, that are not aligning with my purposes. And then we talk about reflection and adjustment. Regularly reflect on your alignment with purpose and make your adjustments as needed. Do weekly or monthly reflection sessions and assess how well you're living in alignment with your purpose and where improvements can be made. And this is one of the things we talked about in the execution video, is that when things when we found that we were out of alignment, when we found that our trajectory, our direction was a little bit off kilter, we didn't stop going. You just thought about, okay, where do I need to change direction? Where do I need to make a couple of changes? Where do I need to make a couple of adjustments? And this is how we do that reflection, that weekly reflection. You say, okay, how much progress did I actually make towards this purpose? Or how much of what I'm doing is in alignment with this purpose? Because let's say your purpose is an ongoing one, it's not a fulfillment or achievement. It is an ongoing and continuous activity or belief or giving back or whatever the case. How much of what you're doing is that purpose? And adjust accordingly. Make sure that you reflect. Make sure that you adjust accordingly. So thank you for watching. This has been the free hour. This has been our productivity series. We've talked about the importance of aligning productivity with purpose. We've talked about our identifying core purpose. We've talked about building supportive habits. We've talked about overcoming some of those challenges. Thank you once again for watching, man. Like the video if you liked it. Share some of your thoughts with me. Share it with your friends. Put some comments about how you remain productive. Put some comments about how you remain disciplined. Put some comments about some of the habits that you formed, or how you formed some of these habits to help you align with your purpose. Your purpose is your compass. Let it guide every action you take. All right, this has been Tree Trevor Turner with the Free Hour. Thank you for watching. Deuces.